find you guys in the WhatsApp rooms to join for this meeting. That's why you got to make sure to have the app installed so you can get the notification that we're starting. That notification comes at like 8:55 a.m. with the new link. So looks like a bunch of you have not found your way here yet, but you got to make sure to install the app for our VIPs to get that. So anyway, this morning, these are the earnings. Look at this. Honeywell, Comcast, McDonald's, Teladoc, Caterpillar, Shop, Southwest Airlines, Cameco, Arch Resources, MasterCard, all blown out of the water. I think MasterCard got ahead of its skis a little bit because it was up with the Visa, so that's down on the news. But everything was a blowout across all these different diverse industries except for Meta and Wolf, which I think are both company-specific related issues. Meta, you all know what's been going on there for a long time. And Wolf, the problem is they don't have enough space to do their manufacturing, right? Basically, they don't have the capacity to meet the demand at Wolf, and that's why they're down. So company-specific issues with Meta and Wolf. Everything else, blowouts across diverse range of industries, and the forward-looking commentary also very positive among a lot of these companies. In Caterpillar's case, are able to do it with price increases. Okay, so I think this bodes very well for SPY. But today also the ECB raised interest rates by 0.75%, and that was expected. But there's some negative commentary on there. Bloomberg's like pounding the table on the negative stuff out of Europe. Apparently, on the conference calls for Comcast and McDonald's, the CEOs both mentioned really difficult headwinds in Europe for their international business because of recession and inflation. So, but take it all together, I think it's really good for SPY today, seeing all these earnings. And I think SPY is going to brush off the bad earnings we've had in Microsoft and Google and Meta. Tonight we have earnings in Apple, Amazon, and Intel. Okay, so let's just, if we can, quickly, we'll do this in real time together. Let's look at these charts because this has worked really well for me, especially on big caps. They do very well adhering to the major support and resistance levels, very well adhering to those DMAs. So very fast in real time. I haven't even looked at these charts yet. Honeywell, we can see it's above all of the daily moving averages. It's at 199 here. So that what you do then is switch to the weeklies. When you look at the weekly, you see the 50-week moving average here, and it's gapping above the 50-week moving. $200. It's also, well, it's right about there. 203, I guess you could call it, right around 200. But when it's that close, I like to round to the nearest whole number. So 200 is your resistance level. Now you'd have to dig in to that earnings report, see if you like the fundamentals and the forward-looking commentary. If you do, honestly, above all of the key moving averages on the daily and the weekly, this may have a path to its all-time highs. Which interesting. Now I'm thinking about what Avi's been saying about SPY possibly going to its all-time highs. I wonder if it's possible. I don't know, but technically, Honeywell looks almost like sky blue ahead, except for some resistance to 200. Let's look at Comcast. Comcast, okay, this one has this is strong resistance here at $35. We're at 32 now, so we can't really predict above that. So if you like the earnings there, I think that's I would say even 34.50, a little shy of 35. You can see these candles here and the trouble I had with that and the 20 DMA. So that's I think the most I'd be looking forward in for Comcast. McDonald's much more bullish. This is great for a recession play as people trade down on expensive food to cheaper food. So 262 here above all the daily moving averages. You go to the weekly, above all the weekly moving averages, and this one is definitely one that the all-time highs is very much in sights. Very, very awesome, solid company. McDonald's is something that you can probably just sit on long-term for years. Teladoc earnings last night. Wow, look at this move in pre-market. Very strong move, up 13%. 50 DMA. Oh, gapping up above the 50 DMA. Very bullish. Look at this. Oh, look at that. Now we look at the history. How does it usually do when it breaks above the 50 DMA? Well, there is one instance of it here. You can see back in July. And it stayed above it for a while. Really didn't do much. Wasn't a great signal. And that's about it. So we had that one time so far. This was a break below them. So it was only one time. This is one example. Typically, you want to see if you can break the 50 DMA. You want to try to get to the 200 DMA. So again, you got to look into the fundamentals of that report to try to handicap the odds of this going. There's strong resistance here, obviously, at 43. This is a declining 200 DMA, so 43 would be really, really strong resistance, and it would take weeks to get there if the report was awesome. So you'd have to look into that. I want to look at the weeklies, though, here, too. 20 DMA. Okay, that may make more sense as a resistance here. 20 DMA at $33 or so. I think that's the play here. If you like that report, maybe this can be ridden to $33. Maybe you could buy the dips throughout the day and ride it to 33. That's the play over there. Caterpillar. Ooh, this is another one like McDonald's. Awesome, strong company. You could just hold for years. I think above all the gapping up above the 200 DMA this morning. So let's switch to the weeklies. The weeklies gapping up above the 50-week moving average. So this is above all the key daily and weekly moving averages. And very similar chart to Honeywell, almost a carbon copy chart of the Honeywell chart. So same commentary as I had for Honeywell. Shopify over here, let's take a look at this. Daily 50 daily moving average. It's gapping. It's battling the 50 DMA. So this one's a little bit trickier. Battling the 50 DMA, not clear if it's going to gap above it. You really got to look at the fundamentals of this report to handicap the odds of this going above the 50 DMA. But above there, you see resistance even way before the 200 DMA. A lot of resistance here at about $40. Let's look at the weeklies to see if we have a better read. That's a better read. 20-week moving average. That's your resistance level. Better read than the daily moving averages. So about $33 on Shopify will be the upside target. Southwest Airlines, LUV. You can see here gapping up above the 50-day moving average. Let's at the weeklies. Again, the weekly here, a better read. You can maybe see resistance here at 36.30. Another, not even a buck higher than here. Possibly you get resistance there. So again, these are all good reports. Take a look at it. Make your own judgments about the fundamentals. I'm not in a position to give commentary on all these fundamentals. Too many stocks here to follow. CCJ, uranium stock. Let's see what it's doing. It is gapping above the 20 DMA. It's moving right into 2590. It's right. Okay, so it's in between the 20 and the 50 DMA here at 26. Let's look at the weekly gapping up above that. This has been super volatile. I don't know that you have a signal. Look how it doesn't really honor any of these lines. So uranium has been super volatile. CCJ has been super volatile. It's just been crazy. So this is not one that I have a good read on at all. Just chop. This is chop, and it continues to be chop. So that's my opinion on that one. Not an easy one. As far as a swing trade, that's just chop. Okay, Arch. Looks super cheap. This is a call stock that Matt gave to us, and also we have the other call stock he gave us. We're waiting for next week. BTU earnings. It looks so cheap. It's just ridiculous how cheap it looks. Look at this PE of 2.81. They're doing a huge dividend. I think was this the company doing the huge dividend? I think so. It's in here somewhere. Well, they had 868 EPS. I think they're doing like a $10 dividend or something. Okay, I hope this is it. Check it out. One of the stocks up here is doing like a $10 dividend. I think it's Arch. Pretty sure it's Arch. So anyway, this is very low PE. So the sentiment, Wall Street is not convinced at all that these high call prices are going to last. So it's a little difficult to kind of predict, what the fair fundamental value is. It's all about really sentiment of what that multiple should be. Which is very hard to quantify. So looking at this, we're not really seeing any movement above any key moving averages, 136.71. This also looks like a little bit of chop here like we saw with CCJ. Look how it doesn't really honor any of these lines. So not an easy chart to try to make easy money on if you're just following this first swing trade on the technicals. Yep, it just does not honor these lines well. Some stocks do, some stocks don't. All right. That's all I'll do here. Meta, I have no read on. I'm staying away from this. I think someone characterized it great in our group. I wouldn't touch it as a 10-foot pole at any price. That's personally also how I feel about Meta. And obviously, there's a price where you can get a good trade in. I don't know if that's today or at what price that's going to be. But, I am not playing with Meta. Look at this. It's just the bottom fell out of this one, and it's not even on our chart anymore. We're only limited to 5 years on this TD Ameritrade app. So Wolf is interesting. Wolf is one that I'd like to get some collaboration on. It is a semiconductor stock. down 27%, solely because they don't have the manufacturing capacity to meet the demand. Manufacturing capacity and also some supply issues, some supply constraints, because they said solely because of their footprint. Their footprint's too small. And I don't know, on the surface, that seems like too much of a punishment for a company like this, for that set of circumstances. But I don't know the company well enough. If someone in our community does, I'd like to hear what you think about this, because maybe this is an opportunity. Maybe this bounces back throughout the day. So Wolf, something to look into. Now we have earnings tonight on Apple, Intel, and Amazon. Apple, we were right. We made a great call yesterday, buying puts first thing in the morning. So that's playing out well. I was thinking this can make its way to 145. Now, the market, I think, is pretty strong today. Oh, there it is. You see, SPY now 0.4% because of all these great earnings. And also, by the way, GDP better than expected. Preliminary GDP numbers came in, I think, 0.2% better than expected. And that provided a big pop this morning as well. That's when the GDP number came in. Okay, so that makes me a little bit nervous about Apple going into earnings. So I'm up nicely on these puts. I don't know what I'm going to do today. Is it possible Apple's going to have a good report? Maybe. We're not really seeing a lot of sign of consumer, spend going down. It really depends where people are spending their money, right? They're spending it, they're eating food, they're, taking flights. This really surprised me. Very bullish commentary on the airlines, and they're not seeing a drop in demand yet. Very surprising. So I'm like, all right, the people are still flying. Maybe they're still buying their iPhones, but the whole reason I was buying the puts on Apple yesterday was because Microsoft missed really badly in the personal computing space, and I'm like, that's a read through for Macs, desktop Macs. So I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to hold this into earnings. We'll see. I'm up nicely on it now overnight, so maybe I'll just take my profits at the open. I haven't decided yet. All right, so we have to see what happens with Apple, Amazon, and Intel tonight. Okay, I'm not going to make any predictions. We'll have to wait and see. All right, but SPY, I really think this. Look at the difference between SPY and QQQ. Right, we're seeing these diversified industries in food and construction and fuel and things like that doing really well, and it's really big tech that has been doing poorly. So that's why you're seeing SPY doing so much better, and the bounce off that 200-week moving average much more clear for SPY than it was for Q. Q had a lot of trouble with that. Now it's back fighting the 200-week moving average again. So there's definitely money moving around the different sectors, and these two sectors are differentiating from each other. Always a TLT, UUP, very important to me. TLT up again this morning. That's great. That's great for risk assets this morning. That's great for ARKK. And there you go. You can see ARKK and SPY because the bonds are up this morning. Interestingly, though, interest rates are also up with UUP. This UUP strong dollar. These usually go in opposite directions, TLT and UUP. So not sure what's going on there, but I like to see TLT up. All right. What else do we got? Twitter deal probably closing today. Indicators are it's closing today by end of day or first thing tomorrow morning. Already a notice from New York Stock Exchange came out saying this will be delisted tomorrow. So Twitter deal essentially done. In retrospect, it really looks like Rumble is running in sympathy with Twitter because there's speculation now that Twitter can somehow do some deal or partnership with Rumble, or even if there's no partnership, I think the ecosystem supporting each other makes sense, right? You get more conservative voices back on Twitter, you get more Rumble links being shared, and you also don't have a risk of Rumble links being shadow banned or banned outright or anything like that, or being depressed in algorithms. You got the stuff that's trending. You're going to see a lot more stuff that I think was artificially suppressed, which were politically oriented topics that Twitter didn't like. I think you'll see those start trending. You'll get more circulation of Rumble links. So there's a lot of positives here. Longer term, there's some questions about is Twitter competition, right? They want to build video features. Elon Musk wants to build this like X.com type of thing. It's like one app for everything type of thing, So who knows if Twitter eventually becomes competition to Rumble or not. But I think in the short term, there's a network effect here and a viral effect here that's going to benefit Rumble traffic. And that may be why Rumble is up. So I honestly can't believe how quickly it went back over 10, to be honest with you, even though I kind of predicted wild volatility on here. In any case, I'm trading this. I still have shares. I was a seller the last couple days, and I'll probably continue to be a seller as we go up over here. All right. I'm going to be trying to sell the pops as we rise and buy the drops. That's my game plan with Rum. I just think the volatility is going to continue while I do hold a small amount long term in my IRA. That's my strategy on Rumble. Tesla's up. A couple notes out because now there's pressure off of Tesla shares to the extent to which Elon Musk may be selling Tesla shares to buy Twitter. So that story is done. So that's why you see the stock up this morning. In fact, someone called that on Wolf Financial Spaces on Monday night. What's his name? Real Pristine Capital. Andrew from Real Pristine Capital picked Twitter for his trade of the week, anticipating that because the Twitter deal would close, the pressure is going to be off of Tesla. And he was right on that, but we're still crushing him and everybody else with our two picks on our trade of the weeks, which was XXII and Clearfield. So crushing it on those. Before we get to those, though, MBLY, right? We had the great presentation from Chris Tuttle from IPO Candy yesterday morning. If you haven't seen it, you can go to our youtube.com/StoryTrading and check out that segment from Chris Tuttle on MBLY. I really like what he was telling us about fair value at $25. So this gives me confidence that I could buy the dips. And I had a couple nice trades on MBLY yesterday, and I think I'll continue doing that. When this dips, I think I'm going to be buying it. This is the GameStop for institutional investors, as he put it. So that's going to be very interesting. XXII was a big day yesterday. They had the big news yesterday morning. Those who were on the show right at 9:25 a.m., we caught the news, and some people got in at 1:30. In our community, even saw someone sell at 140, an hour, not 30 minutes later. So congrats on that. I'm still continuing to hold this. We had the LD Micro presentation at 2 p.m. So we'll see if this can continue. There's a lot of pressure, sell the news pressure right now, right? Everyone knew about LD Micro. Everyone knew that they were expanding to these multiple states. That happened. So I think you're seeing some pressure on the stock. That's why it didn't hold its gains. We'll have to see if now we can continue to get an event anticipation run into earnings. And he teased more news and catalysts to come on or after earnings. Now, the way the CEO is positioning these catalysts before earnings, and now is saying there's going to be big news right after earnings on the cannabis space, I think it's pretty clear the earnings itself is not going to be impressive, and that shouldn't surprise anyone. They only expanded to Colorado. I don't even think it made it into the Q3, or maybe it was at the very tail end of Q3. So it's no surprise, but when headlines come, usually retail's very surprised. They don't understand the lag time it takes for revenue to come in. They don't even notice when there's a headline, attention to the dates, so when you see those headlines come, it often is a sell. People sell and they panic. You're like, what? They're not making money yet? That's a very common dynamic. So the CEO, knowing that, is putting out these catalysts before earnings and also right after earnings. So I don't know. I'm starting to get a little bit cautious, a little bit worried about how much more room this has. Even though technically we broke this 50-day man, I'm looking for 150. I'm a little bit cautious now. So I'm hoping we actually get a move. I may start selling before we reach 147 to 150. I may start taking some off the table because I got in at 1 and I've been averaging up, and a lot of other things haven't been working. This has. So I think I want to take some off the table. Also, some news out on CZOO. I don't know the company well, but they had earnings this morning. On the surface, it looked good. So if you follow CZOO and if you have an opinion on it, let us know in the community what you think of the CZOO earnings. Also want to mention ESLT had 2 big contracts this morning. Now it's down this morning. I wonder if it's down in sympathy with Northrop Grumman. Northrop Grumman defense name down 5%. What's going on with that space? Let's see, because Lockheed Martin also has been okay. Lockheed Martin recovered. Whoa, what am I missing? I must have been sleeping. No, Lockheed Martin has done well. So Lockheed Martin has done well. Why did I think Lockheed Martin didn't do well? So the defense space, Northrop Grumman's down. I'm not sure why ESLT is down this morning. 2 very large contracts this morning. They got part of one of 3 companies awarded up to $5.1 billion. So they'll get a portion of that, plus a separate $215 million contract. I mean, this company, this defense company from Israel, PR Machine, winning contracts left and right with a market cap of $9 billion, which is much, much smaller than, $82 billion in Northrop Grumman and 121 billion in Lockheed Martin. Actually own ESLT, not a big portion, but I just love the news flow there. They seem to be winning a lot of international contracts. ACTG, I want to mention because Matt Kolb in our community has been giving us periodic updates on this and has been waiting for some big news. Is once again saying we're going to get some big news by tomorrow, some sort of restructuring that he thinks will be worth at least another 10% for the stock from here. So ACTG is one you'd possibly want to trade, or you can ask Matt Kolb about it in our community for further clarification. Let's see if we can get a sympathy move out of DRIO this morning because of TeleDoc. Really, it's below these technical levels. 50 in the 20 DMA. It needs news flow. We're not getting it, so a little bit disappointed right now. But hey, man, they keep on telling us it's coming. They keep on telling us it's coming. The Rick Anderson eras. So I'm keeping the faith and waiting for these catalysts to hit us over the next 2 months to get the stock much higher, hopefully. That's all I got on the news. Oh, wait, there was some news from COMM, COMM. I put this out there, text Chris in the community, Chris Tarber and Eric Niles in the community about COMM to see what the impact and scope of this is. Mediacom Communications selects CommScope. Is that a big deal? Is it not? I don't know who Mediacom is. Haven't had time to read this, but we know COMM has been up significantly because of Calix earnings and now anticipation of COMM earnings next week. Don't forget, 200-week moving average. I really like this inflection. I think this could be an inflection point here for the stock, and we can go on a multi-week, maybe multi-month, maybe multi-quarter run from here on COMM. Let's hope they have good earnings next week to validate that. All right, that's all I got. Now, as we did yesterday morning at the end of the show, let's take a look at the news, see if we missed anything or if anything new came in while we were doing this little show. And I see nothing new. Okay, so let's just go back to the top and see what is our real focus today. Now, any one of these stocks that beat earnings, any one of these big caps, I think are probably going to be great names to pick up on dips early in the morning or late morning. If you see that initial first dip, these always gap up and then usually they go down for a dip, and that's your entry, and then I'll run the rest of the day. That's a very common thing you see when big caps have good earnings. So possibly look for opportunities like that, whether you want to pick one of these up for your long-term account or whether you want to trade it. That's something you can look into. Now, Shop is doing pretty good. And so once in a while, it just gaps and runs. And that's really a function of how strong the fundamentals are. So if you really know the company really well, you know what the expectations were, you know what the sentiment was, and you can quickly interpret that press release, you can make a determination of whether it's going to gap and run or whether it's going to fill the gap and then run, or whether a false signal in pre-market. So that's what we combine pillars at StoryTrading. We're not looking at only the technicals. You got to also understand the fundamentals and the sentiment to be able to predict what the price action is going to be in the morning. And believe you me, if you do your research, you can predict this stuff intraday, especially on the day of earnings. This stuff is predictable if you have enough information. I've proved it many times. I've done it many times myself. It's just a matter of when you're looking at all these stocks, you obviously have all the information necessary to be able to predict it that well. But if you know one of these companies well, you can be in a position to make those predictions on these stocks, how it's going to react on open with earnings. Okay, so what else do we have here? That's about it. I mean, what am I going to focus on today? Let's try to figure that out in the last minute or so that we have here. You got to make that decision on Apple, whether I want to hold for earnings. Maybe I'll hold just as a hedge, but man, these great earnings kind of scare me a little bit. I'm up nicely, probably up 60 or 70% on those puts I bought yesterday. So tempting to take the profits. I have to decide. I don't know yet what I'm going to do on that. What else am I going to do? I think I'll be continuing to sell some Rumble warrants as it goes up. I'll be looking again XXII to start taking some off the table, especially if we're up this morning. and then we'll just have to play it by ear, see if any other opportunities come up today. Definitely want to hear from Chris and Eric on COMM on that news flow, but this point, don't really have any strong stocks that, hey, let's jump on it like we did yesterday, XXII at $1.30, but lots of opportunities here. Hope this morning's show was helpful to you. I'll see you at 4 p.m. on post-market wrap to see if I've been a dumbass this morning and to check out earnings on Apple, Amazon, and Intel. See you at 4 p.m.